Hello everyone, welcome back again to your weekly astrological forecast. This one is going from August 12th to the 18th, and it's Mars conjunct Jupiter week, and then Mars squares Saturn, and Mercury's been retrograde and still will be, but it retrogrades from Virgo back into Leo, to that later degree of Leo, and then joins up with the Sun. So there's all of that, and Mercury squares Uranus. Venus is going to square Jupiter. So I'm going to show you all of these. Well, there's one point where we will have a grand square going on. So, what a week. And next week is going to be packed too. So I'll get that one up early for you guys. Anyway, let me just bring you over my table. Let's go through it one day at a time. Hold on. Okay, so before I dive into Mondays, because I do these videos the Thursday prior to, I just have to speak a moment or a minute or two about the these mutable signs that we're going through. I've been speaking to the Mars and Jupiter together in Gemini, but if we add into the mix. Well, this to me is just this constant flow of information pumping out. But there might be quite a bit of irritation due to misunderstandings coming in because of, Mercury retrograde. And that's usually due to just maybe thinking out loud, thinking before we, speaking before we think. And just like I just did, like... me and my Mercury retrograde needly get my words turned around the wrong direction. But anyway, if we're not impulsive and we're careful before we insert our opinions without thinking, how our words might affect another, then we'll be doing much better. And then on another note, Mars and Gemini here, working into, now these aspects here are set for the exact, like a real tight orb, but when we get to Wednesday, I'll put in I'll set it to change the settings to standard, and you'll see the big square that's coming in, but you can see it already. Mars is here at 15, Saturn's at 17, and so we've got a square going on here, and this is a mutable square, and Jupiter's in the mix as well. We'll see that when, we'll have a red line coming from these two planets very soon. But it's still an orb. It's just not an exact orb. That's why the line isn't there now. But anyway, this is why we're dealing with, well, actually, you don't need an astrologer or a psychic or a reader of any type to tell you that. You just have to read the news to tell you that, hurricanes are just a thing all year long, it seems like, on the East Coast and down, with our friends in Florida. So Florida, Texas, all over, and then down through to Mexico, Gulf of Mexico, and all over the world. We just have to be cognizant of the fact that we're, this is our life now. But this is particularly exacerbated when we have, Saturn and Neptune in a water sign of Pisces, and then Mars and Gemini in an air sign Mars can just keep churning and churning and churning in a big way because of Jupiter. A big hurricane over one area and just dump tons and tons of water, which is, what we saw with all the flooding in Sarasota, Florida. And let's just keep sending prayers for cleanup, an easier cleanup, maybe. Goodness. And then also where the storm is headed up the East Coast. So, and then again, on another air-water mix, Gemini Pisces mix, we have to be careful because there's a new COVID surge. And as for the body, the way astrology works in the body, Gemini rules the lungs and our throat chakra, because Mercury rules that throat chakra, and Mercury rules Gemini and Virgo. But anyway, back to Gemini, it's in the body, it is lungs, throat, shoulders, arms, and hands. So be careful with everything that you're doing. Be careful with metal instruments of any type, knives. Mars rules all metal instruments. Gemini can kind of just make, I don't know, blow or exacerbate things up. You have to be careful, and especially mostly with words, right? Because words have power. But if you're packing, if you're packing and moving, or if you're unpacking or packing anything up, as to like shipping, be careful, with the knives or the I'm sorry the if you're unpacking, I guess if you use a knife or a box cutter, whatever, be careful. And also be careful not to drop things on your feet, because Pisces rules the feet. And we've got that square in orb here. So, what else? With Pisces ruling the feet, Pisces is the sign that a lot of dancers and artists, so be careful with dancing if you're dancing, especially with your cat. All you cat ladies out there and cat men. And let's give some love to the doggies too. But also be careful, because our pets tend to gather around our feet all the time, and you don't want to trip, and you don't want to step on their feet either, right? So slowing down is really important. And I know that's hard. When the sun's in Leo, it's very courageous, and we're dealing with this 20th degree. So the sun shining brightly, shining a spotlight on how people express themselves, what they're saying, whether they're narcissistic or not. And we know those who are. And at that 20 degrees, they're in that stage of, well, they went past the learning lessons, firk around and find out stage. And now something will really be shining brightly for as to whatever they didn't learn, right? Whatever they didn't find out, because they didn't want to, right? So, so there's that. Now, in some other news, while I'm on the, bloviating bag of hot air going on, Trump has been using the negative vibes of Pisces, playing the victim, while he's also gaslighting and trying to victimize us, because he's really upset that the Harris Walls ticket is doing so well. And meanwhile, God, it really is Mercury retrograde. Meanwhile, no one likes J.D. Vance. And then I thought I saw something in the news, and I can't remember if it was last night or this morning. It tends to kind of run together to me. But little Donny Boy it's discovered that he had a flight with a leader of Project 2025 a few years back. And, he's been saying he has nothing to do with Project 2025. So there we are with that Mars-Jupiter conjunction right here, turning out tons of new information. And, of course, 99.9% of the time, I think it probably proves what a liar he is. And we can see that with this sesquisquadrate. Both of these planets are in sesquisquadrate too, and this is exact. We had this last week as well, to Pluto. Now, Pluto is power, how you use your power, and I believe that all of life is a power management issue. He abuses his power, right? These planets are right there getting super close to his Sun, North Node, and Uranus. Or actually, it's Uranus. It hit his Uranus first, I think his North Node, and then his Sun. So he right now has Jupiter conjunct Uranus. So it's blowing up his nervous system. And you know what? I won't talk anymore about that, because I did a video that I uploaded, I think the day before yesterday, that went into the eclipses, went into his health, eclipses, everything I could think of that he might experience based on his transits, progressions, solar arcs, and solar return. And like I said, the eclipse is going all the way up to next year, into March of next year. So just to reiterate, when we have a sesquisquadrate, we are needing to maybe take a different track. There could be a detour that's that we weren't expecting, and this is him. He didn't expect to have Kamala. The previous Attorney General of the state of California, who prosecuted all of those sex crimes and banking crimes, and who knows his number, suddenly be his opponent. And then with Walls, who he previously applauded for the way he handled the George Floyd. With just such, God, it was just so awful. It just hurts my heart every time I think of it. But anyway, he had called it. There's a recording of him speaking to Walls and Tim, and saying, I'm happy the way you handled it. Did a great job. Now he actually doesn't know who he is. Who is this guy? Does he think that there's no such thing as investigative journalists or news anchors, or does he think nobody's keeping track of what happens? But if you're a cult member, now that would be right in here in this Pisces, Saturn and Neptune and Pisces energy. If you're a cult member and you won't take self-responsibility for what information you allow to come into your brain, and you won't research what somebody says to see if it's even true, to see if they actually said it or whatever, and if you're just going by what this cult leader says, you're a cult member, you're going to be led astray. And that's what his maggots do. They are led astray. So another item when it comes to a sesquisquadrate, besides the obstacle that it could come into your path and then you've got to detour around it, can be a major disruption. And that is what is happening to him. He's going through a tremendous amount of disruption. So, there we are. And, Pluto, depending on which time you use for his birth chart, if you use Alfie Lavoie's rectified birth time, Pluto has always been in his 6th house for quite some time. But if you use the birth time on his certificate, which I do suspect is late, because I know that his mother had problems in delivery, and there was no law in those days. Until 1968 in the USA, there's no law to get the exact time that the baby took his first breath, or its first breath. So I think that the nurses probably just got around to recording or the head nurse would get around to recording the birth time well after the fact. So I think that he has had, I do believe he has had Pluto in his 6th house for quite some time. But it's, when Pluto retrogrades back into, that's coming up, I think, September 1st, right? Back into Capricorn at that 29th, that anaretic, very intense degree of Capricorn. That's not going to be good for him. It's going to be terrible, absolutely terrible for Rudy Giuliani, because he has, I think, 28, 29 degrees on his south node in Capricorn. So Pluto sitting on his south node, his past, his karma. And yeah, Pluto will tend to eliminate, it'll eliminate whatever isn't working anymore. But with Rudy, he's probably drinking himself to death anyway, so there's that. Pluto also brings things to light. It will strip away whatever we need to be stripped from in order to evolve, in order to grow. It will help humble us. It will also help empower us. And it really does cleanse our souls, and it really does help us to evolve. So we're all headed towards, under the law of brotherhood and sisterhood, we're all headed towards independence and and fairness, justice, and equality. We are literally fighting with the nodal axis in Aries and Libra, literally fighting for justice, fairness, and equality, right? And again, Mars rules Aries, so it's Mars, the North Node with Mars, and Mars is down here in Gemini. It's all about information and information wars that are blowing up, and we are learning more and more and more who's lying and who just talks crazy and doesn't make any sense at all. And then we're also learning, because with the South Node being ruled by Venus, who's putting down women, who's trying to belittle women, who's trying to keep women in check, right? But meanwhile, Eris is over here in Aries. So Mars is over here too, ruling both of the, Chiron and Eris now because of the fact that they're in Aries. But the deal is, when it comes to Eris, relating to the feminine disruption that can come into somebody's life, and think of that like the power of all women and people who love women and who will vote to remove us from his reign of control and corruption in the USA. Just think about that, the power there. And then with Chiron in the sesquisquadrate over here to Venus, no less. And Venus is in Virgo. Mercury's retrograded past. We ended, last week with this. So we're still into it. Mercury's still going this way. We'll be into Leo pretty soon. And meanwhile, so Mercury was over here when its retrogradation began. And remember, Mercury gathers information and learns and teaches, and it's all about the vote. And it's all about who we listen to. In Virgo, we want the facts. Mercury retrograded over Venus and had quite some time to talk with her and get on board with a unification plan. Venus is all about unifying and harmonizing and making those comparison values so that we get what we want. And Venus is also, it relates to our money. It relates to our relationships, our self-worth, and of course, everything to do with women. So Venus now at that 9 degrees of Virgo, at that first, decan, getting pretty soon it'll be on the second decan of learning lessons. But now, today, it's today and probably for a couple of days or more, because this is 9 degrees in only 2 minutes. We have to get to 59 minutes before it'll shift to 10 degrees. But 0 to 9 degrees, the first decan of any sign, is all about developing a foundation. So we're developing more and more a stronger foundation, more and more as to the facts, what the facts are, how to take care of our bodies, how to take care of our health. Who gets to decide how to take care of their health? I mean, it should be yourself, right? Just like Kamala says, who needs the government there? No one. When you're making, healthcare decisions, you can get your information. You can get 2 or 3 opinions or see 2 or 3 specialists. You can do whatever, but then it's your decision. It shouldn't be the government telling you, no, you don't get to do that, and no, you can't have that because you previously had an issue with that, so we exclude you. Like in the days before the Affordable Health Care Act. Back in 2010. So we're not going back to 2010. We're not going back 14 years ago when we had a Saturn opposition. Saturn then would have been in Virgo. So now here Venus has come around and we're talking about it again. Yeah. So anyway, okay, let's move forward. So with the sesquisquadrate here to Chiron, in an exact, disruption detour, it's all about the women. The women aren't taking it anymore. With Chiron in Aries, we've been wounded enough in the realm of not having our own autonomy, not having our own independence, not being able to put ourselves first when it comes to making decisions because of either the government or something else. So we are working hard to change that. Disruptions create change eventually. So that's what's going on right there. And then we also have Venus this morning. I set the chart for 4 a.m. and this is August 12th. This has to do, and so this is the trine to Ceres, and notice how Ceres is at 8 degrees. Ceres is in that square to the nodes, like it was, last week, and will continue on until September 2nd. But so Ceres is up here holding space for nurturing the fundamental things in our lives, the things that we can build upon because it's in Capricorn, the things that we can set our goals towards and nurture. That's what we're wanting. So we're wanting to go forward in an independent way, bringing through justice, equality, and fairness for ourselves and for everyone else. And Ceres is up here saying, if you don't nurture what matters most, then grief and separation is coming, because that's how she works, right? If you don't take care of your body, you don't take care of your finances, you don't take care of the people that you love, and vice versa. If there's not that care and that integrity, the utmost of Capricorn energy is about the integrity to be in your authority, to structure and shape your life in a way that is goal-oriented, where you can build something. It's ruled, Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. Saturn is one of the builders of the zodiac along with Jupiter. We have the Saturn square there, even though you can't see it right now. I'll change the settings later. And what we've got coming into play is, with this trine from Venus, more and more women and everyone who wants peace, love, harmony, right, which are the laws of love. That's the way the universe is built. So we are going towards life. We are pro-life. We're pro-life and pro-choice. These other asshats that are trying to take away choice and free will from us, that's not pro-life. It's definitely not pro-choice. So they're just negative. They're just in the negativity, the dark side of Capricorn that tries to use everyone, that's a prisoner of some, previously built structure, and which would be the government, because Saturn rules the government. They're trying to abuse all of us and step on top of us, and they don't care about us, and they're dictatorial, and they're controlling, and they are manipulating. They will go through eventually some type of grief and separation, and I hope come Rovember, that will be the case, where they'll say, well, that didn't work. Because it's been retrograde. So Ceres has been retrograde. It went retrograde May 14th, and it's going to retrograde back to 7 degrees. So it just has one more degree to go, just about one more full degree to go, and then it'll start going forward just the end of this month, August 26th. And then it's going to take a little while to get back to where it started, out of the retro shade, which was 21 degrees Capricorn. So, by that time, it won't take that long to get there, to get back to that 21 degrees. And by that time, we'll be well into, Ceres is still going to be in Capricorn. I'm pretty sure at the election. I don't have that chart. They're in my kitchen. I have a bunch of charts out there, but I think we're going to have the election while Ceres is in the later degree of Capricorn. So again, there we go. We're choosing, right? We have learned so much because of the retrogradation, right? Ceres started that journey into Capricorn, where it's all about, what do you care about? What do you nurture? Ceres is a dwarf planet, just like Pluto and Eris. Chiron's a centaur, but it's super important. So anyway, I do think that they are going to learn their lessons the hard way, but eventually they will. So, okay, the other things that are happening today by exact, aspect, you can see the moon's here in Scorpio, midway through the sign. It's at 18 degrees. We've been going through deep lessons as to what we will fight for, what we will dig our heels into. We're talking fixed psychic, emotional energy that will dig your heels in and say, this is where I stand. And no, I'm not going there yet because I'm still looking, I'm still researching, I'm still whatever. I'm clear about a lot of things. But as soon as it gets to that 20 degrees, then it's blooming. The energy is up and out, and because it's gone within and really gone deep in Scorpio. Remember, Scorpio in the highest vibes, the highest vibration that we can use it for is to transform. It's to refine as well what we have previously transformed. You know how it is when you do some deep work. You always have, like at first you have crisis, like in the early degrees with Scorpio. A lot of times we'll have, and Scorpio is ruled by Pluto. The old ruler was Mars. So you can, either one, Mars and Pluto. Mars moves energy. Scorpio takes it in and goes, oh, I think I'm at a crisis here and I need to do something. Or it's in your face and you really are at a crisis. And then you figure out through trial and error what you need to do. And you don't mind the conflict because you're strong. Scorpios are strong. And then what happens is that through trial and error, you figure out where you've gone wrong or where other people aren't to be trusted because it's a sign of trustworthiness. And then, trust and betrayal is a very scorpionic issue for all of us to work with. Trust me, I have Saturn in Scorpio. I know. So you learn to not betray yourself. The older you get, the wiser you get. But meanwhile, we're in a process of going into crisis, working through the crisis, and then coming out the other side. And you're still kind of wobbly, because you have to integrate. And so part of that refinement of Scorpio, the Scorpio process, the scorpionic process, is to really integrate deeply. And then you've got a new solid sense of, I know who I am, right? You still might make some mistakes because we're human. I mean, we all do, and we all will. It's just life. But intrinsically, there's a place where you're just unflappable with the scorpionic process, and which is also the Plutonian process. And then Mars is always driving the energy to get you to go wherever you need to go, because we all have our own, specific, very unique life path. So, okay. Scorpio, now that you've got that energy, trine to Pisces, this is water energy. They're both water. Okay, this is fixed water, this is mutable water. So today, especially early this morning, you might wake up with some dreamtime information that helped you to transform something. And if it's not dreamtime, it might be something that you work really hard to finish up this morning. And you've got that nice connection, a nice quick, this trines and sextiles are not always easy. And remember too, Neptune and Pluto are still in sextile, so we have that powerful spiritual source energy there for us that's easily worked with, easily tapped into and worked with. But the trines and sextiles are not always harmonious and easy. Sometimes it's just a connection where the energy goes quick. But if it does go in a quick, easy flow, the way it could go is towards something building, something that builds or continues to build, I should say, your spiritual foundation. Because that's, Saturn, foundation. Pisces, very spiritual. Pisces is also very intuitive, sensitive, super sensitive, compassionate, psychic. Both signs are psychic as well as Cancer. All the water signs, you have to be able to feel in order to get to the truth, and you have to really want the truth. So Saturn will be testing all the time. Saturn tests the limits of the expansion of Jupiter. So that's a thing, that's a theme all week long with the square to Saturn, from Jupiter to Saturn, and Mars is there as well. But with the moon in Scorpio starting off the week, I think it's just perfect. I love that. So let's see, anything else for today before yeah, I think that's it. Let's go ahead and go to Tuesday. So Tuesday, the moon's in Sag. Not ironically, but it's just the way it came up at 4 a.m. So I didn't even have to change. I could have gone back to like probably 3:30. Maybe it was about 3:30 when it went in. But at exactly 5:09 a.m., the moon will square Mercury. So there's a powwow there. There's, again, Mercury brings through information. Mercury's retrograde, of course, as you can see in Virgo. Virgo wants to be useful, wants to discriminate, wants to, learn something very practical so that it can be put into place in a pattern or in a system that actually works for you. And it's all about efficiency. In the negative sense, and I only have to address that because of the square here, with the negative sense of Virgo, we can just be all over the place and not discriminating, not discerning, and not integrating either. And that will be the case for some people who are emotionally just going in one direction, and they think this is, it's my way or the highway kind of a vibe sometimes. The dark side of Sag sometimes is being really wasteful and opinionated and just, blowing things up, going in the direction they want, according to the opportunities that they want, and it can be very self-indulgent. But there's going to be, something I think that comes out in the news about somebody who has done something like that, and because Sag rules politics, right? So I think this morning, especially after 5 a.m., or it could have been that it happened in the middle of the night, and then we're talking about it in the morning. Yeah, that's very possible. And that's especially the case here as well because of Chiron, or I'm sorry, what am I saying? It's in conjunct quincunx here from Pluto to Mercury. There's an adjustment that's going to be that will need to be made because of whatever the news is. And again, I'm sure it's political. I'm sure it's somebody abusing their power. And I'm sure it's somebody just trying to take advantage of an opportunity because it's all, it's right there. And Pluto also, we've got 2 sextiles going on from Pluto now because we can add in the moon. So I don't know that this is going to be a harmonious, opportunistic sextile like it should be. It could be for us. Now, if you're willing to get your mind, get your life organized as much as possible so that things work efficiently, and sometimes that's super, super hard to do when you're like, imagine when you're moving and you're packing or you're unpacking. It's like the more organized you can be, the smoother that the more organized your packing is and your whole move is set up, then the unpacking can go that way too, but it's still going to be challenging no matter what. Your mind's going to be going crazy with all the details, and unless you've done it a lot of times and you just kind of know how to do it, it's still going to be a really hard week. What am I saying? Hard work. And, well, maybe this week is going to be a hard week. So, the moon in Sag, best way we can use that energy, no matter what, because this square can turn into a strength. It's just a call to action here. The squares are a call to action. The news will come out, or you're going to learn something that you have to take care of, and then you're going to be called to act in a way that inspires you with Sag. That's the best way to use the energy. And this can be your intuition. This can be just an idea that all of a sudden pops in your head to research something or to look at something or to listen to something, or, it could be something that even pops up in your YouTube feed and you go, oh, I want to know more about that. And you didn't even know, but you can expect that your guides probably popped it up in there. So anyway, the best use of Sagittarius energy is to orient yourself on your own path and to search for what brings meaning into your life. And to, because it's ruled by Jupiter, most of all, to work on your growth, on your personal growth, to to expand yourself in your personal. What's the right way to say that? Personal, I don't know, individuation. That would kind of bring in Uranus, though. So, yeah. And you could see that during the night, in the middle of the night, that we did have the moon opposing Uranus, right? Because it would have been at that late degree, anywhere between like say 25. Once the moon hit about 25, 26 degrees of Scorpio last night, we would have had that opposition. And that could have brought through some very psychic, intuitive information. The moon to Uranus can be very psychic. Uranus can be extremely intuitive. And in Taurus, it's all about the body. So, more and more empaths realizing that they're empaths. Let's see. The sesquisquared of Venus I've already covered. That's still in play. Like I said, the T-square coming from Ceres to the nodes will still be there all the way through to September 2nd. So I won't talk about that again. Covered those two. Yeah, let's move on. Let's go to Wednesday. Okay, now Wednesday, this is the day, and that happens at 8:22 p.m. That's when we have Mars conjunct exactly. Now, you can't see the aspects here, but I'll change it to let's see, wait, hold on. Maybe I want to cover this first. Let's do this the strong aspects first, the most the tightest, with the tightest orb. You can see back in the background here, you can see this yod, this finger of fate here, and it goes towards Mercury. And Mercury has made it back, another whole degree. It's at 0 degrees, getting ready to approach Leo. But it's, in Virgo, like I said, again, something that has to do with service, news, pumping out information as to people's work, health. We're going back, with when Mercury retrogrades, we're going back over things that somebody said, because that's Mercury, things that people have done, because that's Virgo. We're tracking patterns. We're tracking patterns of information, basically. And it leads up to, with this in conjunct, there will be an adjustment that has to be made for people in positions of power. And it doesn't have to just be politics. It can be, tech giants and billionaires and things like that. And we all know it's been out on the news with, these guys. And then also over to Neptune. So how people in positions of power have victimized others will be out. We'll be seeing even more of that. So that's one backdrop there. The moon at 15 degrees of Sag brings through that, we're in that fork around and find out phase, and where did some of these political people go, and what have we done? What have we been going towards? What have we been aspiring to? And now with this semi-square here to Pluto, to powerful Pluto, like how we use our power, then with that little semi-square there, might be some indecision, not sure which way to go. For somebody that's, working, this can be on-the-job training too. I always look for these aspects with, in personal transits. So that can actually turn out to be a really good thing. For other people with a semi-square, there's friction. There's a need to act, and you don't really want to, and you can't decide which way to go, but you got to. Because, a decision to not make a decision is still a decision, but sometimes you just need more information. And with Mercury retrograde here, we're going to get it. It's going to happen. So sometimes we just have to be patient. And like I said earlier, meanwhile, be careful. We got to watch our words. The sun down here at 22 degrees of Leo, is now firmly in that deepening and blooming phase of all things that relate to your creative self-expression. And with the two sesquisquadrates going up to one to Ceres and one to the North Node, this is actually maybe some disruptions in the creative process because you realized you want to nurture it in a different way, or maybe there's been something with because of Capricorn, because of Ceres actually, and in Capricorn, ruling all physical things. We're in the realm, Ceres relates to our animals, and again, our food, farming, most of all, women's reproductive rights, or all the, actually, not just the rights, it's our reproductive cycles of life. So there, something's going to be shown about narcissistic control over women. There's going to be more about that. And then we're all headed on that fight to get out from under that type of control. So that's the backdrop of the tight aspects. So now let me go to here. All right. So there's a grand cross in there. And so the only way you're going to be able to see it is if you can focus in, because I'm not going to color, I'm not going to mark up my I'm not going to bust out my highlighters on top of my iPad. But the moon's here at 15 degrees of Sag, like I was saying, directly opposing Jupiter and Mars, the Jupiter-Mars conjunction. And remember, so to focus in on the Jupiter-Mars conjunction, we're dealing with, well, we're partly dealing with a lot of energy, but we've been dealing with it because Mars has been over here. But now that Mars is on the other side, it's starting to, next it'll start moving away. But there's a super intense drive and push of information and, to speak. This is excellent for Kamala and Tim out on the campaign trail, and she's not taking anything. She knows how to handle the hecklers. You guys have probably seen that on the news. So I loved it when she said, if you want to keep talking about that, you're going to push the vote. Something like, she said something to the effect of, I'm totally paraphrasing here, that if you're going to support the vote for Trump, you don't come to my rally or something like that, or don't say that unless you want Trump to win. Maybe that was it. I totally forget, but it was something along that effect. This is exactly that fighting for the words of healing, fighting for the words of power with the sesquisquadrate up here, the disruption that happened for her. This is the perfect example of the disruption. Yeah. And she does have, you know what? Oh, God, I wish I had her. Do I? No, I don't. It's again in my kitchen. I'm working on her charts. I know she has a Gemini ascendant, and I think it might be at about 15 degrees. So this Mars-Jupiter right here would be right on her ascendant. And then the moon in Sag that happened yesterday would have been somewhere, well, actually would have just been probably right. If her ascendant's 15 degrees of Gemini, then her descendant would be 15 degrees of Libra. But the moon just moved into Libra early this morning. So it would have been in her 6th house of service yesterday when she was given that rally in Michigan and they were yelling about genocide. So, yeah, interesting. Okay, so the moon opposing the Mars-Jupiter conjunction. Now, in one of the highest ways of using Sag energy is to go for the truth. If you have an extreme amount of wanting to, because the mood will rule the mood of people, right? So I am thinking, because I know you guys want the truth, but I'm thinking more and more people are going to be wanting the truth. right? Because if we have the truth as to the words that people have said and the deeds and actions that they have done, then what happens is that you can make a fair assessment as to what a person will do in the future. We learned a long time ago that, it's like Rachel Maddow said, I can't remember how many years ago, watch what they do, not what they say. So we've been doing that for quite some time. And then with Mars over here, with the square to Saturn, and again, words and creativity, words that could victimize, and then Jupiter to square to the Saturn, all of this, and especially with Mars, just to focus in on Mars for a moment, that's all about our goals. And it can push us to really complete our goals, or something's in your face and you realize you have to change track, but that will be the way to go because it will bring in more strength in the future. And then we've got that opposition here that brings in the confrontation, because maybe now you know the truth about something, you intuited it, and personally, or we heard about it on the news. It's like, oh yeah, I remember when he said that. Oh, he's not doing that now, or he's doing this even though he said that in the past. It's just the lies, right? So coming face to face with the confrontation of lies of the past, this is what Donald Trump is going through. And what happens here, then maybe there'll be a breakthrough. Like for us, if you've been searching for, to find the truth for anything at all, and it literally could be what works best in your body as far as food, because with Venus and Mercury and Virgo, it's all about the tummy. Virgo rules the tummy and the digestive system, and which is our microbiome, and it also rules our endocrine system, so our hormones, all of that. If our microbiome isn't in good shape, we're going to have more hormonal issues, which women just have all their lives. It sucks. It's a part of life. But anyway, okay. The opposition here can turn into a breakthrough for us when it comes to working and fighting and moving the energy, focusing, working hard on a goal that will, create concrete results in your life. Speaking to Saturn there. And then also the square, two squares from Mars and Jupiter over to Venus. It's all about, again, being useful, being of service, being healthy so that you can be useful and of service, and that wanting, that really love for serving. And also, Virgo relates to small animals. So there could be a deeper understanding as to what your animal, your critters need, or your one fur baby, or whatever you have. It could be a cricket for all I know, but how to take care of the things that we love to serve and love to nurture is part of the path here as well. So we only really have that grand cross at 8:22 a.m. Pacific time, and adjust to your time zone, but we really only have this because of the moon that's in play. If we take the moon out of the picture, then we have 3 T-squares, okay, with Mars and Jupiter at one end, relating to the power of women, your money, your relationships, discerning, creating divine order in your life, over here to Venus, and then the other square, of course, up to Saturn, which when you've got that worked out well, what happens is that, or I'm sorry, we don't have 3 T-squares, we have 3 squares. But when you have that worked out well, or actually there's only 2 squares if we're down here, but to bring in the moon brings in the other squares up at the other end. So anyway, the moon will pass. So let's focus in down here. And in fact, you know what I could do? Let's do this. Let's just go forward hour by hour until we break through. Oops. Yeah, it's there already. Okay, so now now we've lost that one leg of the square to the moon. So by the time the moon's at about 18 degrees, so we're talking 1:22 p.m., somewhere in there. Let's just say, let's call it 1 p.m. Pacific. And what we have going on now is that clear opposition that's still there, and the clear double square over to Venus, like I said, women, nurturing, all of that, service, work, health, critters. And then the square to Saturn, and it's all about which way do we go to grow in a way that creates something really solid that I can rely on, that we can rely on, whatever it is, for you in your life, that creates more efficiency and something really stable. But it's always about growing and that movement towards growth. So this can be a really, really good experience for you guys. Let's see, the other, I'm also tuned into this fire trine going on here. So the sun's at 22 in that last decan, of course, of blooming, blossoming, phew, I'm here, that kind of thing, right? Look at me. Imagine a big, beautiful flower or a little kid in his joy, or her joy, and they're just, yeah, speak about joy. That's the whole thing with Kamala and Tim, the Harris Waltz ticket. It's all about joy. So what was it? Joyful warriors. Oh, joyful warriors. Boy, that speaks to her moon at 27 degrees of Aries. That so speaks to her. And Tim tuned into that, and I doubt he knows anything with astrology. Maybe he does. But Aries is the sign of the warrior, and depending on what, in her chart, it's in the 11th house of, humanity. And so, yeah, there you go. And she's laughing all the time, and I love that. Who doesn't need to laugh? I mean, my gosh. So, okay, the fire trine from very creative, self-expressive, and loving Leo, or narcissistic and arrogant and malignant and all that yuck of my way or the highway, and listen to me, look at me all the time. You know who that is, the one that's just the energy vampire. With the trine to the moon in Sag, now this is in Trump's chart, right, where... And I did his reading. This is the 14th is an awful day for him. Awful day for him. Because the sun is right up there on his, stellium, his Gemini, or it's in the same degree as his Gemini stellium. So he's got this fire trine that's kind of just blowing him up. And the moon is down on his south node and moon as well this day. So within hours it'll be conjunct. But anyway, what we can expect for us is to have a lot of opportunity to go in the direction that we're intuitively, drawn to, and as a way to bring in more creativity. And then also with the double trine coming, well, shoot, there's a few here. We've got Mercury trining over to Chiron and Eris. So Mercury retrograde going over a point that we've been already in the past now brings in some quick-moving energy to help us courageously go forward. And if you've worked through all your wounding, or enough of your wounding, to the degree you've worked through your deepest wounding, which, is like our deepest inner conflicts, whatever is like the hardest for you in life, you keep working through to find the false belief that's holding it in place. The more you do that, then the gifts come through. And the gifts of Chiron and Aries are about your independence and being bold and daring and trailblazing, and asserting that unique individual light that you are, with no qualms about it, no shyness about it, just going for it. It's like put the Ace of Wands over here, kind of. Well, of course that would be 0 degrees of Aries, but that's okay. So with the double trine up to the moon, like I was saying before, the moon rules the mood. And the mood in Sag is about, like I said, inspiration and being on your path. So this could be really, really good for those of us who are working in the light and really trying to make some headway. And it doesn't have to be like just all the spiritual stuff. It can be the very, very practical. And I say that because, we've got thank goodness, we have Mercury and Venus in earthly Virgo and Ceres up here in Capricorn. So that's good. Oh, and Uranus in Taurus. We're all about the body. Oh, and there's a trine there too. I didn't notice that. Uranus trine Pluto. This is good. Uranus trine Pluto can bring in some freedom in the body, some freedom in your finances, even though there was a little, a weird little hiccup with the stock market yesterday, but no, it's no big deal. 1,000 points is nothing. But with that trine to Pluto, again, powerfully getting outside of the box. If you can let go of being in the limitations of the way you think it needs to be, and get away from people who are bigoted and selfish, opinionated, cranky. Get away from those people. Then you can have some really wonderful, blissful experiences, just hanging out at home, loving the life that you've created, feeling very secure, because Taurus is all about security, and it's also our faithfulness to our principles. So maybe you have I sure do lately. I just have like a hair trigger. I can't hear Trump's voice. I just can't. I have to mute it and then like put the closed captioning on, or say I don't even care, and I'll just read about it later if it's important. Right? We just all want to see justice. So yeah, you can also see this square going on here too from Pluto, because we've got the wider or the standard set of aspects, so the orbs are wider. But from Pluto to Eris, and you can see that is, remember, Eris is that feminine fight for equality. And we are up against the people that are, trying to just be, we're up against the bigots. The dark side of Aquarius is bigoted. So there's that. But we'll work it through, just as long as, everybody goes and votes. And then once we're in, man, what we really need to do is get rid of that dang electoral college, because that and outlaw gerrymandering of any type. One person, if we got rid of the electoral college, there would be no need for gerrymandering, right? So there's that. One person, one vote. Let's see. Mercury in conjunct Neptune here. Again, news or information that will create an adjustment. Now this could come from dream time, nap time. This could come from meditation, because Neptune and Pisces. It could also be some information that comes through about, because Pisces relates to immigration. Yeah, Neptune and Pisces is a double amount of, that energy. Plus, this could be information that comes out because of a storm and we're making adjustments. Maybe we're donating, maybe we're praying even more. Praying peace, just peace. Just peace. That's all. You go to that peaceful place inside. Let go of the mind and just go to that peaceful place inside, and imagine that going all over the planet and then out to the whole universe. And there's your power. That's your power. So, yeah. What else? We have an aspect of the architect here coming from Uranus. Look at that. Neptune up here, Uranus here. Uranus is only 2 degrees away about 2¼ degrees away from Neptune there, and that's a pretty tight orb. And this is a sextile that brings in opportunity. And then we also have the trine up to Pluto, like I was speaking of. So this is good here. I thought I was seeing the aspect of the architect, but I guess my eyes are just tricking me. There's a lot to look at here. Okay, I think I'm going to go ahead and move forward. Oh, but let me change the settings back to the tight orb. Yeah, see, when it goes tight, we don't see, because the tight orbs are like 1 degree only. But they're great for a daily. So anyway, let's go ahead and go to Thursday. There we have that yod that we were seeing before. Mercury has retrograded back to the nth degree, the anaretic degree, 29th degree, the last degree of Leo, and it's going to keep going back. It'll go all the way back until the 28th, and it's going to go all the way back to 7 degrees, 15 minutes, 12 minutes, something like that. I can't remember. 7 degrees. Let's call it 7 of Leo. So that's quite a bit. We still have quite a bit of room to go. And the sun every day will move 1 degree. So we are now within the realm of Sun conjunct Mercury. We've got 6 degrees of separation here. And if you do a really wide orb, it's, you can even do 8 or 10 degrees. Like if you're looking at a natal chart, you sometimes want to widen it out a little bit. But anyway, Mercury here, now at that last degree, just remember, there's something really intense, really peaking. And in the sign of Leo, it has to do with expressing something and it could be that somebody is really embellishing a lie. This could be, Trump putting out something that's just ridiculously, it's huge. Everything's huge. Some bigly piece of crap. and there you go. And it causes a disruption to the path that we're all on. But we're discerning because, beautiful Venus is over here in Virgo, and in that second decan, we're learning more. So you know what I think? Oh, I just got this hit. More and more people will be learning about his lies. That's what's going to happen. And then that will set them on a different path away from him, because now they know. Whoa. Okay, now I could say that's further reiterated here with this semi-square to the south node, because the south node's a path. The past. The path of the past. We're on this is a nodal axis. It's an elliptical path. And with the south node here in Libra, it's all about justice, fairness, and equality, but it's also about relationships. And Libra, in the highest sense, is all about how we relate to each other, how we engage with each other, how we share, opportunities for each other, or with each other, and then how we can self-reflect. Because, if you have a loving mirror in front of you, in people that really see you and love you, then you can be yourself, and then you see each other in the mirror through the mirror of the other. Does that make sense? I hope it does. And if you can put yourself on that bridge to meeting someone else halfway, and giving them the benefit of the doubt, then you can have some really loving relationships, and then those relationships together can blaze this trail of going into new territory than you ever have before, which is a really beautiful thing. And you have your autonomy, Aries autonomy, Aries independence, and in loving relationships, you want your counterpart or your friends or whoever the relationship is, you want them to be able to just be themselves and be comfortable, and it's all good. But if it's not healthy, then the need for an adjustment will come through. And I think with the sun at that 23 degrees there in semi-square to the south node, I think people are going to see that, oh gosh, if I stay hooked up with this guy, if they're still in bed with Donny Boy, it's going to get more and more disgusting, and they're going to want more and more to get out. And it might have to do with finances, with realizing that, to follow him, especially imagine if there's another COVID surge, and then it brings up how he handled COVID and how many people actually lost their lives and people lost loved ones because of his mishandling, because he completely dismantled the CDC and then started telling people to shine a light up their butt and inject themselves with bleach and, we could do that, right? Don't you think you could? It's like, oh. Okay. The moon this morning is now it'll take until 9:50 before it's actually square to Neptune over here. But first thing, we don't have it at 4 a.m. We don't have it, but it is at that 26th degree. That's a late degree of Sag, and again, that's that deepening and blossoming stage where your intuition is probably working really, really well. And you know which direction to go. And because of this exact, with the moon exactly trining Eris, it is a courageous direction to go in the, whatever brings you more in touch with who you truly are. And you're honoring your existence. Aries, it's all about, I'm here, man. Honoring your instincts, and you move forward based on your instincts. This is a very strong intuitive hit right here that we can all work with in the morning. And then, by 9:50, let me go ahead and go forward. Yeah, even at 9, it's right there. It's 9. It's exact at 9:50, but you can see the square to Neptune there, and the moon in Sag has been this whole 2.5 days has been building up to this point where when it hits, we're seeking and learning the truth, and then when it hits Capricorn, it's like, okay, we have some new tools, man, that we can use. So with the square to Neptune, I think that it would be a really good. Actually, let me go forward one more. There we go. It would be really good to get some meditation time in. Maybe schedule it if you can. If you have that type of schedule where you can just take an hour off. If you could schedule it for 9 to 10. 9. No, you know what I would do actually. 9:30 to 10:30. 9:30 to 10:30. There's a portal that can open up there that can really help you, because look how the moon's at 29 degrees there. That's a really strong intuitive, focus, a direction of focus that can inspire you on your path. Your guides, guardian angels are represented over here with Neptune and Pisces. So, yeah. And you can see that Yod is still there, and pointing to Mercury. Messages that will come through, with Mercury being at that 29 degrees, will come through to help you with your creativity, your creative self-expression. That's Leo in its best. Okay? So when you get that information in meditation, then what happens, and it doesn't, some people, I firmly believe in that old adage that angels talk to those who walk. Some people I know Lori does. Lori over at the Way of Positive Change, she texts us all the time, Lori, or Lisa and I, about things that she got on her walk, and it's phenomenal, and it turns out to be true. And sometimes, like for me, I would get guidance like that too when I was walking, and also songs. I'm channeling, like you just hear a little lyric of a song. And that's all you need. It's really just that little snippet. You don't have to dive into the whole song and what did the song mean. It's really just that one little phrase that came through is the important piece. I've learned that the hard way. But anyway, the point here with the yod, the finger of fate, finger of God, is pointing to that communication of Mercury coming through the heart chakra in a big way, coming through in your direct knowing. The solar plexus relates to Leo, or Leo relates to the solar plexus, I should say. And then, of course, the moon in Sag rules the hips. So again, the walking and the solar plexus, the third chakra and the second chakra working together, and then suddenly you get a piece of information. And then if you're walking, the challenge is to make sure you put it in an email it to yourself, or in a note, in a voice memo, something like that. Make sure you get the information down. And the closer Mercury and the Sun moves together, the more and more the news is going to be, pumping out information, and the more and more you're going to get, we will all get guidance as to how to, to work in our creative process. So this is really good. Gemini is good for speaking, writing. Leo's good for shining your light in any old way you want. Neptune and Saturn up here in Pisces is really good for social media and all of the arts. Taurus is good for the arts. Uranus and Taurus is good for the arts. Video, social media would be part up here with, actually, media to the masses would be Uranus and Neptune. But yeah, and in very physical ways with Taurus, and then Pisces can just put it out there to so many people. And there, movies and creativity like that is very, very powerful. As long as it's telling the truth, then you get everything that you need. So, but bottom line, just remember all week long, no matter what, and I hope you listen to this all the way through earlier so that you're fully prepared. Just remember that Mars is aggressive, Jupiter expands. And Saturn in Pisces is like holding this line for inclusion and compassion versus an overblown, overconfident ego. And it could, bring through some, like I'm seeing here, disruptions to cult leaders and their followers, right? But most of all, what we have going on this week is this fight for justice, for being optimistic, and letting Jupiter be very inspiring, and then moving with whatever inspiration came through for you. But like I was saying before, be careful with this Mars Jupiter conjunction, and then especially with that Grand Cross on Wednesday. Just watch your words. People might not remember what you did or whatever, but they'll remember how you made them feel. That's the thing. And nobody wants to feel disrespected or discounted or in the Pisces realm, it has to do with victimization, outright victimization. So, yeah, we have to be careful because Mars rules war. Jupiter blows things up, but also Jupiter can be healing and peacefulness. So maybe it's all about fighting for peace. With our words, not with any violence, never with any violence. The fight for justice and optimism, and letting go of pessimism. That would relate to especially Virgo, but also Gemini. To believe that love works, that love matters, to believe that you deserve to feel good, to have positive feelings, and to let go of the fear of not trusting your own healthy instincts, right? And that leads to health. And then also to not reject yourself. Don't reject any pain that's coming up. Don't reject any healthy anger. Doesn't mean you need to do anything with it. Just feel it and work it through, exercise it out of you. cry it out of you, move your body, but don't hurt someone else and don't hurt yourself and don't say anything to anybody else about it because, it's all about you, right? Unless you're having to, go into self-preservation, or if you're having to, self-defense. Now, self-defense is another whole thing. That's another whole thing. But yeah, so it's basically the quest, the work, the hard work to have a healthy ego that can step aside and let spirit come through you, out of, from you, from the inside and through you, and create peaceful situations rather than war. So, and you can see we still have Mars and Jupiter in that tight orb to Saturn. So all week we have those lessons. But now with Saturn and Jupiter being the builders of the zodiac, like I was saying, this could turn out to be hard work to gather information and learn, just keep learning and learning and learning, that builds a solid spiritual foundation for you in the future. So I love that. And then the square here also could, the Jupiter and Saturn square, well, and Mars too, because that pushes the energy. Mars always moves energy. This can, inspire a lot of people to finally take action on building your spiritual foundation so that then you truly are in your life path. And remember, Jupiter and Neptune are both connected to our guides and guardian angels, as well as Pisces, the sign of Pisces. And then Mercury would be the communication between in whatever way. And it doesn't have to be words. Sometimes it's colors, sometimes it's feelings, sometimes it's the inspiration to the curiosity. Gemini is definitely a curious. It's all about curiosity. What are you curious about learning? So anyway, and then, the sextile between Neptune and Pluto, that's still lasting. We have that going on until September as well. So we really want to make the best use of this time. And then we have a little, if you see this semi-sextile here coming from the moon this morning at 10 a.m., we've got, so this is a building manifesting opportunity here. It's a half of a sextile. So yeah, so an intuitive, something powerfully intuitive that can help build a whole new thing for you, whatever it is that you're wanting to bring through. And maybe you don't know what you want yet. This would be a really good, all of this energy would be excellent for getting to, that place where it's like, oh, now I know what I want. For a while you're just kind of floundering around, that we all go through those stages. Like you want something new or more, but you don't know what it is yet. And so go for the joy. Go for the happiness. Go for the things that you would do for free if you could. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Did I do this sesquisquadrate from the Sun to Ceres? I don't think I did. Again, Ceres holding space up here for nurturing everything that matters to us in our lives. And then in very solid ways with, Capricorn. And then with the sesquisquadrate here, there could be a disruption, again, that comes through from some creative self-expression from someone else. And maybe, like I was saying before, you decide, oh, I'm not going that way, whoever, whatever that was about. Okay, Thursday night, 10:30 p.m., the moon is up here with Ceres. So if you don't get to sleep early, you might, or if you're a night owl, like our friend Cindy Loomis Torvey, hey Cindy, this might be a really good aspect for getting some work done. A lot of people write late at night. So this might just do it for you. Now, on another level, it could be if you go to sleep early, which I don't know how anybody can be anymore with this Mars Jupiter, like pumping out the brain just, too much, and Mercury retrograde. It's possible that it's hard to go to sleep, and then it's also possible that when you do get to sleep, you don't really have a lot of good dream time because of the fact that you just, you're just not getting enough. You might be going to sleep too late and waking up too early. And there's this tension field here, on the body, with Mars ruling actually, the life force, and it's so much mental life, mental energy coming into the body. Uranus in Taurus is kind of, it's highly, I have to be careful of the words I use. It can bring in a lot of extreme, I keep thinking electricity, but I don't want to say like electricity in your body, but it does rule your nervous system, right? I mean, Uranus does rule our nervous systems, and we're talking in the body. So, and then with Venus and Virgo over here, trying to balance out, when it comes to levels of anxiety can be challenging for a lot of people. So find ways to calm down at night, calm your body down, and then maybe too you'll be able to actually. It's possible that if you've worked hard during the day, it's very possible that by Thursday night, we've got the body will just kind of let go. That's possible. But nurturing your body is really important. And then with the square from Mars here exactly to Saturn, notice how, we've got 17 degrees, 42 minutes here and here. Jupiter's still involved. So this is just a lot. Jupiter, a lot. Mars, energy. A lot of energy. And then maybe we hit a wall over here. So maybe it will be a good night for sleeping. Now, on second thought. You guys let me know how it goes for you. But do whatever you need to do to nurture yourself, to get yourself into that sleepy place. Like for me, it's showers. It's like, warm shower. If you have a hot tub and it's not too hot and you can handle it, whatever, it depends, Been too hot at night here for me, so none of that. I don't have a hot tub anyway. But whatever it is that helps you get to sleep, go for that. And that's the only thing I wanted to say there, to speak of there. The rest of it has to do with the Sun trining Chiron. So it could be, if you set the intention. Now, I do this every night. I set the intention for my guides to work on my body, whatever needs healing. Just, if I'm hurting, I'll tell them, well, yeah, they should know, but I'm going to tell you, it hurts here, here, and here. Please, extra work there. And thank you for ahead of time, right? Because you always want to pray in the affirmative. And then with the trine over to Chiron, again, it could be like too much energy. If you've taken on a new workout routine, with let's say with the sojourn with the moon through Sag, because Sag rules the hips, and that's like your second chakra, like moves your body. It's like the anchor of your body, your pelvis, that moves you through life. If you got onto an exercise routine during that sojourn and you're not careful, by the time the moon hits, because the moon rules the body, right? Body, psyche, soul is the moon. By the time it hits Capricorn, you're going to be like, oh, I think I overdid it. And you're going to need to learn balance there. So that's another, that could be, hitting the wall there, Mars to Saturn. But it could also be really, really good, like I was saying before, to work on your goals, whatever goals you have going on. So, yeah. Okay. Let's go ahead and go forward to Friday. Friday, we have, like I was saying, the Capricorn moon crossed over Ceres, and then we've got that. We've got some deeper understanding about how to nurture ourselves better, And we have from the moon a little bit of a disruption, but we'll figure it out, because the sun in Leo will be shining that spotlight and let us know exactly. There's no getting around it. You know what it is, whatever it is for you, and then you'll be able to make those adjustments accordingly. And the same thing there with Mercury coming over to Neptune. Now this could be about a false belief here, because Mercury would be the messenger that gives you information as to an illusion, a misconception that needs to be dissolved. So this is really good. And it might have something to do with, like, I always have to work harder than everyone else to get, what they get so easily. It could be something like that. Or it could be, no matter what I do, I'll never get that, whatever. Because for some reason, I just don't get that, whatever that is. And you have to look at your belief system around that, because that's that's the driving force that has created the whole vicious circle that we spin in. And boy, I can attest to that. We all know what those are like. So breaking free is always, the goal. Let's see. And then we still like the Jupiter square Saturn, all of that's going on. The moon there. Okay. That's it. Let's go on. Let's move forward. Saturday. Then we have the moon has moved all the way to 23 degrees of Capricorn. So we're in that decan of, blossoming. For all the work that we've done is we can see it. But it is square to Chiron. We've got an exact square to Chiron. So maybe with that tension field there, we're still working through some false belief about having to work really hard in order to have what you want or have what you deserve. Or it could be a false belief about winning, because, Aries is so much about winning sometimes and being first. Or it could be a false belief about, everyone abandons me, something like that. And the key with that one is don't abandon yourself. And then you've got everything. And usually, 50% of the time, because we're on a dualistic planet, 50% of the time, life isn't going to be the way you want it, but you can be okay with that. It's just life. It changes, it moves. And if you're okay with yourself, that's what matters. So these are, this is an opportunity. It's a tension field there, but it's an opportunity to get right with yourself. And then you've got your integrity and your inner authority, which is what that highest level, highest vibration of Capricorn is. It's your inner integrity. It's your in your bones moral system that you don't need rules for, because it's in your body. Now, you can see my little note up here that the moon moves into Aquarius at 3:13 and hits Pluto. Okay, so once we've got that going on, then there's the flavor, the mood changes into something more free, hopefully. On the highest levels, Aquarius is all about innovation. It's all about new, different ideas. But it can be sometimes, especially, because Pluto's here, it can be tolerance versus bigotry. And then the later degree of, before, let's say around 3 or so, or even earlier, when the moon's at about 28 to 29 degrees of Capricorn and it's approaching Pluto, there we're in that realm of narcissism, We're in that realm of people not being respected and people being overlooked, and nobody likes that. Capricorn's all about our duty, our responsibility, our self-responsibility, how we are responsible for others, the way we've shown up according to our commitments. And it's about controlling, especially our time, the time that we spend, and it's all about our hard work. And so if we're good at that, but also not beating up our body about it, work-life balance is super important, then by the time the moon hits Pluto, there can be some when the moon hits Aquarius and then hit Pluto, it can be some freedom, some major freedom in the body and in the mood, right? And in the home and the public. The moon rules the public as well. That's interesting. Okay, let's go ahead and go forward. Sunday, Mercury retrograde is super close to the sun. So it's going like back into the heart of the sun. I think some astrologers call that Kazemi, is a fancy word for Mercury or any planet moving into the heart of the sun after it's already crossed over. Mercury never goes too far away from the sun anyway in its orbit. But that 27 degrees there, and the sun is almost, notice it's at 25 degrees, 59 minutes. So one more minute. This Here, hold on, damn it. Hold on. Oh, come on. How many minutes? Oh, that's good enough. 4:10 a.m. Sunday morning. The sun is at 26 degrees of Leo. Mercury's at 27, still going back, but now we really are 1 degree apart. That's a tight orb. Mercury squaring Uranus exactly. Wow, with only in 3 minutes difference there. You might wake up early no matter what Sunday morning. So try not to stay up late Saturday night, because I think you're probably going to wake up early, because this is like mentally alive energy with Leo. It could also be waking up to kids that are really, really rambunctious and want to have fun. And then the square over here to Uranus is like, oh God, my nervous system can't handle all this noise right now. It can be something like that. It could be, when it comes to the news cycle, again, some gregarious type of in-your-face energy coming from, Leo, that is shocking, and we're trying to, stabilize, but there's a tension field here. For the intuition, it could bring in some strength. And again, Leo, heart energy, solar plexus energy, direct knowing, and Taurus in the body. And Uranus is all about waking up. And Uranus is our change agent as well. Now, what I think I can easily predict here with some degree of, preciseness, is that we will be talking a lot and thinking a lot and noticing, especially noticing a lot, because there's such a spotlight here on narcissistic, at least the one narcissistic, the biggest narcissist that we can think of. But then again, they're all, that whole cadre is just very narcissistic. And narcissism really is a disease of not, well, it's a personality disorder of not really knowing who you truly are. All of your energy, if you're a narcissist, you don't have your connection to your sense of self. It's all of your energy is directed outside yourself. So when something happens outside yourself, if you don't have that connection to who you truly are, then you kind of go nuts inside. So there's more of that happening on full display. Let's see, what else? The sun right here, well, and Mercury too, even though we actually have 2 trines going on over here. To both of these planets, this is, I'm going to call it a double trine. So the light shining on something important about people in leadership positions on the news, and it has to do with women's rights, women's equality, and how we're not taking it anymore. So there's something important. Maybe there's going to be a protest or something that's lined up. And then you can see the moon's on the other side. We've got 8 degrees of separation here from the moon to Pluto. So something powerful was brewing, all weekend. And now with the moon in the exact trine to the south node, it has to do again with the justice, equality, fairness from the past that we haven't gotten, that these rights that we've had stripped away from us. And we're talking about that. That's the mood, is to be free of that. And then the trine to the, sextile to the north node, we've got an aspect of the architect, which was a building, which is an emotional, public-oriented, freedom-oriented, freedom-loving aspect to build a new future, with the north node in Aries being the new future. So that is looking pretty darn powerful. And then you can probably easily see the T-square down here. Now I'm going to include Mars, even though there's only, one square here and here. But it goes from Mars and Jupiter, again, churning out a lot of energy in the realm of learning things. We're in the second decan of both signs. That Mars is moving into the third decan. We have learned so much by this time. And we're well beyond, now some people aren't, but we are well beyond the firk around and find out phase. And the T-square is going from the women, and this is also in the learning lesson stage, firk around and find out stage here. Women are teaching people who are narcissistic and autocratic. We're teaching them the direction that we want to go, because here we are over here. Here's the wall over here. Like, we're not going in that direction. And people who've been victimized, I think, might start coming out and talking more about it, moving that energy. And I think for the most part, they're women. Women or men who have watched the women in their lives go through terrible things that they, should have never had to go through, being that, Roe v. Wade was overturned by the Dobbs decision 2 years ago. So, Mercury square Uranus is just going to emphasize that further, and I think that's it. I mean, there's the little semi-sextile from Ceres to the moon here, but that'll pass, fairly quickly. But still, in the morning we do have that, I think it's a little bit of some more goal-oriented energy to manifest something new. It could be something new that's much more geared towards freedom and something inventive in Aquarius. Like, maybe it's just reinventing ourselves, right? I mean, yeah. So that's it, you guys. Thanks for listening. And as always, just sending you tons of love. Take good care. Bye.